Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for being here as always. And the last celebration, travel tips, advice, things, videos seem to do really well, and you guys seem to really like that. So I wanted to do a bit of a deeper dive on what to do around Chicago, the different options for traveling to and from your hotels, and all of that kind of stuff. Now I wanted to start off at the top of this video with just the disclaimer that if you already live in Chicago, if you have lived in Chicago and you're relatively comfortable with it, if you visit there quite often, you're going to know most of the stuff that I'm about to say in this video, so this video might not be for you. If you're looking for actual celebration attendance tips, how to interact with the convention itself, then I promise you that there are definitely tons and tons of other YouTubers out there that are doing that have experience with celebration. I've never been to a celebration before. However, I have been to some relatively large conventions, so I will give you just my some quick advice tips right here at the top of the video. So, just for actual attendance tips, there's a single one. Don't plan. Don't plan out exactly which panels you're going to go to. I like to live by the have a highlighter, not an Excel spreadsheet. So highlight the panels that you're interested in, but if you don't get to those, that's fine. If you don't manage to have enough time to go and hit up this specific thing, don't worry about it, because you're going to stress yourself out. You're going to end up having these times where it's like, oh no, if I hadn't, stopped to go into the bathroom for those 5 minutes, I would have caught the first 2 minutes of the Collider Jedi Council podcast show or something like that. You're going to have that happen to you if you try to overanalyze and try and book and, block off each individual hour or by the half hour of each day that you're actually at Celebration. Don't have a plan. Just find stuff that you're interested in and then do the stuff that you can get to. Don't worry about it, because you're going to be in a space with probably over 100,000 Star Wars fans. You can have a good time no matter what you're doing. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the Survivor's Guide to Visiting Chicago. Not really a Survivor's Guide, more of a My First Steps into Chicago, my little golden book or whatever. So the first point that I wanted to get to is transportation. Transportation to and from your hotel and McCormick Place and wherever else you plan on going in the city. Now, the way that I see it, there are really three main ways to get around the city. There is driving yourself if you're driving to Chicago from out of state or from, South Illinois or something like that. Public transport and Ubers and Lyfts and cabs. Now, I'm going to start off with driving yourself. I don't like to tell people what to do, but don't drive. Unless you live in the city of Chicago and you know your secret, you got your secret hideaway parking spots and stuff like that, don't drive into the city. It's not worth it. My hotel that I booked, I was one of the lucky ones that managed to get a hotel at one of the partner hotels for the convention. At my hotel, I would be paying $65 a night to park my car there. Nope. Sorry. I'm already spending $1,000 on a hotel, and I've already spent, $500 on tickets, and no, I'm not going to spend an additional, what would that be, 60 times 6 nights? No thanks. I'm good. And that also goes for driving from your hotel to McCormick Place. Basically, what I'm getting at is that Chicago is not a driver's town. It's not a good city for driving in. It's kind of the antithesis to what I understand is LA. In LA, a lot of people, the majority of people, get around by driving around. In Chicago, most people get around with the public transit system. So the final points are, if you have somebody that lives out in the suburbs or further out in the city and they've got a place for you to park your car, do that, and then take public transit to your hotel, because you're not going to need your car once you get to your hotel for those 4, 5, 6 days, however long you're staying. Number 2, if you don't have a hotel, through On Peak, through the Star Wars Celebration website, and you're staying a little bit further out, see what you can get with public transportation. We're going to get to that in a second. And try not to drive into the city. It's not worth the stress and the hassle. And now let's move on to public transportation, shall we? It's this easy. This is an app called Transit Stop. Clear disclosure, no, this is not a advertisement or a endorsement or I have no affiliation with whoever the hell produces this app. But this app is basically Google Maps, but it's optimized for public transportation. And it is fantastic. You guys are seeing a live recording of my phone screen here. And one thing to note about Transit Stop that's really nice is that you can see up at the top there, location service disabled. That's means that I don't have my GPS turned on. You do not need to have your GPS turned on for this to work. So if you're one of those people that, has privacy concerns or whatever, you don't need to have that on. And it also saves on battery life. So it's just as simple to use as Google Apps. I go to route, say that I want to go from McCormick Place. Give it a second to do its auto search thing. All right. McCormick is 2 R's, right? Yeah. McCormick Place, Chicago. And then let's use my hotel here. Hyatt Regency, Chicago, Illinois. All right. Now we are on basically a sort of schedule / timetable sort of thing. Let's see here. So as you guys can see, it's actually giving me exact times that I should leave. If I want to catch the 3 bus route. So let's just go ahead and click on this one here. Now it's telling me that I'm going to need to leave from my hotel at 6:15, which is in 6 minutes for me right now, in order to get to the bus stop at Michigan and Southwater. And then get onto the 3 bus, and then I'll hop off at X stop at McCormick Place, and that's it. Very simple. Now, one thing that I do want to mention to you guys is that you see this route in the middle here that has that little little train with the electricity coming off of it. That is the Metro Electric train, and that is not covered in the CTA pass, the 7-day CTA pass that I mentioned in the last video. So you'll be paying per ride for that, so I do not recommend using that one. However, the one right below it that's pointing to the green line, that's the icon for just the L train, which is covered in that CTA pass. Real quick refresher on that CTA pass, just in case you didn't watch the previous video. $33, unlimited rides on buses and CTA trains for 7 days. And you can get it at like a ton of different grocery stores and pharmacies and stuff throughout the city. Go ahead and check out CTA.com, or maybe it's CTA.gov, CTA.org. I don't know. The CTA website. Check that out, and you will, and you can find a list and everything through there. And again, I cannot recommend the public transport in Chicago enough. There's a possibility that there will be shuttles and stuff provided by Reed Pop, the people that put together Celebration, or On Peak, the people that do the hotels and stuff like that. There's a good chance that there's going to be some shuttles, but they might not be running at all hours of the night, whereas the CTA does run at all hours of the night. It's worth it just to have. Heck, even if you've got a hotel at McCormick Place, if you manage to get into the Hyatt McCormick or the Marriott Marquis, is that it? I don't remember, but there's the Marriott that's also connected to McCormick Place. Even if you've got those, get a CTA pass. It's $33, and then you can go anywhere in the city. And I mean, you're in Chicago. Why not visit some of the events and jazz clubs and go eat some deep dish pizza or something further into the city, or rather further north into the city. All right, public transportation ramblings out of the way. Let's get on to Ubers /Lyfts /cabs. Another thing that I probably should have mentioned in the car bit is that McCormick Place only has one double lane, or rather, one lane going one way, or two lanes going one way, two lanes going the other way, so 4-lane road running right past it. When there's a convention of 100,000 people there, there's going to be a lot of traffic jams. A lot of traffic jams. So if you're trepidatious about being crammed into a metal tube on the L train with a ton of other people, or, you don't feel comfortable being on a crowded bus or a crowded shuttle, and you're willing to spend that extra money for an Uber or a Lyft or a cab, I welcome you guys to do that. However, have them drop you off close-ish to McCormick Place. Have them take you to the intersection of, Cermak and State Street, or Cermak and Michigan. Have them drop you off nearish to it, as opposed to at the convention center. If you have the ability to walk an extra 15 minutes, you're probably going to be actually saving time by walking those extra 15 minutes to the convention center. Then you're gonna having them drop you off at the convention center, because you're gonna be waiting in a queue of a billion other Ubers and taxis and Lyfts and people trying to get parking at McCormick Place. Alright, with transportation done and out of the way, let's talk about the actual city of Chicago. What are the other things to do? Where is the nightlife at? The jazz clubs and the nice restaurants and all of that kind of stuff. So we'll go ahead and just get a map out right here. All right. So here is McCormick Place. This is where the convention center is going to be at exactly. Now, the area around McCormick Place is basically South Loop, the South Loop area. The South Loop area is, to be blunt, very dead when it comes to interesting things to do. To be honest with you, it's very much McCormick Place is right on the edge of where downtown kind of ends, and the residential area starts back up again, going south. Now, the area to the north of McCormick Place is the Loop. That's what you hear about all the time. That's the downtown Chicago. The Loop is named because the L trains, like almost all the L train lines, go in a nice, pretty loop around it. Now, the issue with the Loop is that it's the financial district of Chicago. That is where all the big banks have got their, world headquarters and all the real estate agencies, and it's the economic center of Chicago. That's what that district of the city effectively is. So there's not a whole ton around there. There is the Herald Washington Library. There is the Art Institute of Chicago, Grant Park, Buckingham Fountain. There's also the Shedd Aquarium and the Field Museum are right off of the Loop, but they're like on the lake, whereas the Loop is kind of inside of the lake. And there's not too much to do, further inland around the Loop, because, like I said, it's just a couple, a bunch of Starbucks and stuff to feed all the corporate executives that tend to frequent that area. Now, the interesting place, and that's where I'm kind of happy with where a lot of these hotels are, like the Sheraton, if you're staying at the Sheraton, the Hyatt, Regency, the Wyndham, that's it. All of these partnered places are right on the north border of the Loop and the Magnificent Mile to the north, as well as River North. River North is kind of where you're going to want to be going almost all the time. That is the cultural center of Chicago. That's where all the jazz clubs are. That's where all the nice restaurants are. That's where all the fun post celebration closing each day entertainment is going to be at. That's where you're going to want to be going. So for those of us that are, staying at the Hyatt Regency or the Sheraton or the Wyndham, you're going to be within walking distance of the cultural center of Chicago and just having to commute to and from the celebration a little bit. So you'll easily be able to go out to dinner with people that you meet at the convention, or just go out to dinner with your party that is going to the convention. So River North is kind of the place to hang out at. Now, real quick, I do want to touch on the safety aspect, because I have seen a lot of people worrying about the safety of Chicago and all that kind of stuff. Without getting too political, yeah, Chicago does have a massive gun violence problem, and they're not doing enough to fix it. And I can understand why there's headlines all over the country about it. Now, with that being said, where you're going to be at, that is the South Loop area around McCormick, the Loop itself, and River North, and the Magnificent Mile, you'll be fine. It'll be, to my understanding, it's just as safe as the Anaheim Convention Center would have been. There's been one confirmed non-fatal shooting within a half-mile radius of McCormick Place in the past year. And there's been over 1,000 shootings in the past year in Chicago. As long as you're not going, venturing too far outside of downtown, like actually downtown Chicago, like the Loop and South Loop and River North, you'll be relatively safe. That being said, it's still a very big city. And again, I just want to clarify, I'm not some safety expert, so don't come suing me if this advice doesn't work. But 3 basic tips. And these are the basic tips that exist in any major city that you're visiting that you're unfamiliar with. Don't walk around late at night by yourself. And even if you're attending Celebration alone, find a group of people that are going to the same hotel as you. Like, you're going to be hanging out at the bus stop anyways to go back to your hotel at the end of the night. So just be like, hey, you going to that? Hey, do you mind if I tag along with you? Whatever. That's fine. Number 2. What was tip number 2? That was tip number 2. Don't look like a victim. I know that sounds silly, but when you're hunched over and you're clutching your bag and you're, shiftily looking around, waiting for some scary boogeyman to jump out from around a corner or from out of an alley, that's basically putting a target on your own back. If you walk around like you are owning the city, you're going to have a lot less issues. At least that's just been my experience. And finally, tip number 3 is basic, again, common sense. Be aware of your surroundings. Pay attention to people that might be following you and all that kind of stuff. And that being said, I don't think that you're going to have too much to worry about. I'm sure that Chicago PD and McCormick Place's private security people will be doing a lot of extra overtime over the course of this weekend. I guess what I'm saying is, don't worry too much. Just use basic common sense and you'll be fine. Alright, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time. I am going to go ahead and edit this video. If you enjoyed this video, if it was helpful for you, please let me know in a comment down below. Also, leave a like button, leave a like on the like button, whatever. Make the thumbs uppy bit. It lets me know that I'm doing something right around here. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button if this was helpful for you. And as always, may the force be with you guys. Take care.